everywhere, GBS.
Good afternoon. This is the Ambassador on GBS TV, where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. It's 1 p.m. here in Nairobi, and I'm Ibrahim Said. We begin with the stories shaping global power, trade, and influence. To our first story. Uganda's long-time President Yoweri Museveni has been confirmed to stand in the January 2026 elections as he seeks to extend his nearly 40 years rule in the African country. Museveni, who has been in power since 1986, on Tuesday urged supporters to back his vision for the future after electoral officials near the capital, Kampala, announced that the 81-year-old leader would be on the ballot, as Davis Karani reports.
The governing National Resistance Movement NRM party officially confirmed President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni in June as its presidential candidate. Museveni has appreciated his supporters for entrusting him to run again for the 2026-2031 term.
I thank you for again putting trust in me to be your chairman of the NRM for the period 2026, 2025, 2031. Thank you so much. I also thank you very much for electing me as your flag bearer for the presidential contest.
In a list of pledges for the next term, Museveni said that the party's priorities will focus on wealth creation, education, infrastructure, crime, corruption, health and water. He is expected to meet with his closest opponent in the ballot, Robert Kyagulanyi, nicknamed as Bobby Wine.
For every 5 years, we have an opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, an opportunity to rally Ugandans to change things. Not to just rally Ugandans to go to an election. There were many questions, and many of our friends were challenging us about the election, knowing the kind of election that happens under a dictatorship. But we said this time around, we are going to have a protest vote. It has been 5 years, but now it is less than a week before we take the first major step.
Will Uganda's elections be free and fair? It is a decision that will be left with the electoral body of Uganda to take charge and account for every Ugandan vote. Davis Karani for GBS News.
Elsewhere, uncertainty is growing across Africa's major trade deal with the United States nears its expiration. The African Growth and Opportunity Act, known as AGOA, has been a key driver of the export and jobs for over 20 years. But with the deadline just days away, there is still no words from Washington on whether it will be renewed. Our reporter Elvis Moyodi has more.
The African Growth and Opportunity Act, or AGOA, approaches its expiration at the end of September. For over 2 decades, AGOA has allowed duty-free access to the US market for thousands of African products, boosting exports, creating jobs, and attracting investment. But with just days to go, Washington has remained silent on whether the program will be renewed, leaving governments and businesses in limbo.
AGOA, it's more significant to us because we're able to send our sugar outside South Africa. So now if that process stops, then the price that we are being paid for the sugar that we sell it to the mills, it will be affected.
For many African exporters, AGOA has been a game changer, especially in industries like textiles, agriculture, and automotive parts. Without it, they fear major losses and stalled growth.
If that happens, it means we have to go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, can Kenya sustain its textile industry? Will investor be still willing to invest in Kenya textile industry?
African leaders are now urging the US to act quickly, warning that failure to extend AGOA could strain trade relations and reverse years of economic progress. As the deadline looms, the future of US-Africa economic cooperation hangs in the balance. Elvis Muyodi, GBS News.
And now, switching focus, the World Health Organization is warning that uncontrolled hypertension is now a global health crisis, affecting more than 1 billion people worldwide. The report released today highlights how high blood pressure continues to endanger lives by increasing the risk of heart disease, stroke, and kidney failure. Here are the details.
According to WHO, millions of lives have been lost in the past years due to untreated or poorly managed hypertension. The organization revealed that only 1 in 5 people with the condition have received proper treatment, while many others either remained undiagnosed or failed to access necessary care. Experts also noted that low and middle-income countries carried the heaviest burden, with weak health systems unable to provide consistent screening and treatment.
We say in the report, hypertension is a crisis, but it's a crisis that is solvable. It is a crisis because 1.4 billion people today have hypertension, and only 1 in 5 have this hypertension under control. And for that reason, they are at risk of heart attack, of a stroke, of kidney disease, or of getting other illnesses such as dementia.
Hypertension has long been recognized as a silent killer, often showing no symptoms until severe complications arise. In the past, WHO urged governments to adopt effective prevention programs, promote healthier lifestyles, and ensure affordable access to medication. Global initiatives were also launched to encourage regular checkups, reduce salt intake, and raise awareness on dangers of ignoring blood pressure levels.
The biggest barriers is that in the population there is no awareness at all that hypertension is a big deal. The second one is that, of course, there is not enough workforce in the facilities, but also that there is not enough trained workforce. There is not a standardized protocol. Medicines are too expensive. There is no data. But the biggest barrier at all is that there is not the political commitment to get this crisis addressed.
WHO has announced that it will work closely with member states to strengthen healthcare systems and expand access to affordable treatment. The organization says that if countries act now, nearly 76 million deaths could be prevented by the year 2050. Molin Runo, GBS News.
And after that story, the ambassador will take a short break. We will be right back with more as we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics.
So kids, are you ready to listen to today's Bible study? Are you ready to listen?
If you're happy and you know, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know, clap your hands.
Samson was a mighty man, a mighty man was he. Samson was a mighty man, a mighty man was he. Samson was a mighty man, a mighty man was he. Between a want or a need, which one is more wise?
So it's anime and cosplay in Kenya.
I came to know about anime when I was a teenager, because that's when I knew, oh, it's not a cartoon, it's an anime. And I came to realize, oh, it's a whole thing and it's a whole culture and it's a whole community behind it.
I remember I used to watch Dragon Ball Z, but that time I didn't know it was
anime.
I thought it was a cartoon.
Yeah.
Oh, let me go watch cartoon.
Anime has been there, it's just growing with time and people are getting to know more about it.
This has been going on since 2016. Like, people have been meeting up for anime and DC, whatever nerdism you engage in since 2016.
Cosplay, basically, what it says is costume
Role play.
Yeah, so you dress up as a character from an anime, and that's just it.
So character likeness, how much do you look like the character?
Some parents see anime as just cartoons,
You're like the
which is true. What's your take on this perception?
Hizo cartoons zako zenye unawatch.
It doesn't bother me at all. Most of the most popular anime we enjoy today, Jujutsu Kaisen, is for kids. Naruto is for kids. One Piece is for kids. So yeah, it's never bothered me when people are like anime is for kids. Anime is cartoons. I say this as someone who's been watching anime for 15 years. Anime is cartoons.
World Marathon. Bro, hapo sasa ndio kuna maneno. Ona feel nini ni mbaya na Omanyala? Bro anadefeatiwa man. Hizo Omanyala sio Omanyala bana.
Hakuna kitu Manchester inaweza fanyia sasa. Mwekezaji kama vile last time niliwaambia, Ekeni Arsenal kichwa. Ekeni Arsenal kwa 1.5. Ekeni Arsenal first team to score.
I have been fencing for the last 1.5 years now. Fencing haina age. You can start as early as at a very young age, and you can also play at a very old age.
Kuna pale mshari represent Kenya yenye tunasema.
The game yenye nilienda last ilikuwa junior championship na ilikuwa Angola.
Fencing is a sword sport, but we don't call it a sword, we call it a blade.
Ili kujua mengi, jiunge nami Omala Brian kwenye GBS TV Sports Sugu Show. This is where passion meets the game.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back to the Ambassador, and let's continue with our top stories. Typhoon Ragasa has taken a turn towards the north on approach to the Guangdong coast and is said to make landfall earlier and further north than previously forecast. The most damaging part of the storm, known as the dirty side, is now approaching Yangjiang. Tropical storms, including hurricanes, typhoon, and cyclones, have a clean side and a dirty side, and the dirty side can be 50% stronger than the clean side. In Northern Hemisphere, the right-hand side of the storm is known as the dirty side and can be much more destructive than the left-hand side. Why the dirty side of the Typhoon Ragasa is the most dangerous part? Motion combines with circulation in the right front quadrant, leading to the strongest wind, heaviest rain, and biggest storm surge. Taiwan Premier Cho Zhuangtai has called for an inquiry into the disaster response after Typhoon Ragasa caused a barrier lake to burst its bank, unleashing flood water. The death toll from the flood has risen to 15 people, and there are 17 people still missing, according to Taiwanese authorities. All casualties were from the township of Guangfu, which Cho visited Wednesday, pledging support for affected families. Vice President Hisao B. Kim also visited the township to meet affected residents. Also making headlines, Donald Trump walked into the UN General Assembly and flipped the tone of the room. What was expected to be a routine foreign policy address turned into direct challenge to global institutions with threats, accusation, and foreign policy map that stretches from Gaza to Venezuela. Let's take a look. It was the very first of its kind, a speech that didn't just challenge the United Nations, but questions its very purpose. Donald Trump opened by praising United States as the hottest country anywhere in the world, before turning sharply on the institution that hosted him.
We're the hottest country anywhere in the world, and there is no other country even close. What is the purpose of the United Nations? The UN has such tremendous potential, but it's not even coming close to living up to that potential. They seem to do is write a really strongly worded letter and then never follow that letter up. It's empty words.
Trump dismissed Gaza's peace effort as one-sided and warned that recognizing Palestinians settled without condition will reward violence. He said hostages must be released before talks can begin. On Iran, he called it the world's top terror sponsor and pledged to block its nuclear ambitions, offering no negotiations, only containment.
My position is very simple. The world's #1 sponsor of terror can never be allowed to possess the most dangerous weapon. Unfortunately, Hamas has repeatedly rejected reasonable offers to make peace. Now, as if to encourage continued conflict, some of this body is seeking to unilaterally recognize a Palestinian state.
Trump called for fresh tariff targeting Russia, saying economic pressure was the only way to end the war. Then came the turn he accused European nations, still buying Russian oil, of funding the very aggression they claim to oppose. It caught the room off guard. Just weeks earlier, the US and Russia had signaled quiet cooperation, and now the tone had flipped.
In the event that Russia is not ready to make a deal to end the war, then the United States is fully prepared to impose a very strong round of powerful tariffs, which would stop the bloodshed, I believe, very quickly. But for those tariffs to be effective, European nations, all of you are gathered here right now, would have to join us in adopting the exact same measures.
Then came the moment that froze the room. Addressing Venezuela's trafficking network, Trump said the warning was blunt and unmistakably military, aimed at Venezuela's trafficking networks. Trump said they would be dealt with decisively, using force if necessary. The chamber fell quiet. Delegates didn't just react outwardly, but unease was visible.
We've recently begun using the supreme power of the United States military to destroy Venezuelan terrorists and trafficking networks led by Nicolas Maduro. To every terrorist thug smuggling poisonous drugs into the United States of America, please be warned that we will blow you out of existence. That's what we're doing. We have no choice.
The message was forceful, the tone unmistakable. Trump laid out his foreign policy without apology and left the chamber with no doubt about where the U.S. stands. Meanwhile, in a landmark moment for the African sport, Rwanda has made history as the first African nation to host the prestigious UCI Cycling World Championship. The global event, long dominated by European venues, has now found a new home on the continent, drawing praise from cycling top leadership and marking what many see as a turning point for the sport in Africa. UCI President David Lapartient praised Rwanda's leadership, calling it a future hub for cycling innovation and even hinting at elevating the Tour du Rwanda to world tour status. Lapartient emphasized that the importance of expanding the sport beyond Europe and into all 5 continents, but beyond the traces, this championship is about unity. The UCI president says cycling has power to bring people together, promote peace, and inspire the next generation.
We've invited athletes from all African countries. In fact, Africa is the most represented continent here, with 36 countries taking part compared to 35 from Europe. So as you can see, Africa is the most represented. Africa is truly awakening to cycling. It already boasts some very talented athletes, and we believe there will be a legacy through know-how, enthusiasm, athlete training, and a UCI Continental Centre established right here. A strong foundation will be laid. It's true that cycling is historically rooted in Europe. Events like the Tour de France, the Giro Italia, and the great classics are primarily based in Europe. But I carry the idea that we must expand to all 5 continents, starting with the World Tour. When I met with President Kagame in February, I shared another dream of mine. After these World Championships, I hope the Tour du Rwanda can progress to the second tier of UCI events, or even become part of the World Tour. I genuinely believe Rwanda has the capacity to host it. I'm also confident that athletes who experience these championships will want to return. So having a World Tour race in Africa, most likely in Rwanda, would be incredible.
And that's it for this afternoon's edition of The Ambassador, where we debunk global diplomacy and geopolitics. We'll keep tracking the stories that matter, and we'll be back with more clarity, context, and consequence. I'm Ibrahim Said. Until next time, have a good day.
Everywhere, GBS.